I welcome you, friends. We have some important new reports that absolutely demand your attention. I used to work inside a big and well-known media outlet, saw how stories were twisted to fit the narrative, and I walked away. Now I'm independent, I speak freely, and I tell you what really matters. If you find this information valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and consider becoming a sponsor. Your support helps me keep telling you the unfiltered truth. Now, let's kick things off with some truly astonishing news coming out of Great Britain. First up, the UK government has just announced they will be introducing a digital identity for British citizens and residents. And here's the kicker. They're doing it despite widespread public outcry and significant opposition. According to the head of the British government, Keir Starmer, this move is designed to complicate illegal employment in Britain and supposedly make borders safer. It's no secret that Starmer is under immense pressure to halt the influx of irregular migrants arriving by small boats from France. But hold on a minute. His political opponents are rightly pushing back hard. They argue that these digital IDs will do absolutely nothing to deter those small boats. Instead, they claim it will restrict the freedom of UK citizens and create a massive domestic surveillance infrastructure. This infrastructure, they warn, will likely expand to cover citizenship, benefits, taxes, healthcare, and possibly even internet data and much, much more. Currently, Britons rely on official documents like passports or driving licenses for identity verification when needed. Yet, while the UK often criticizes systems in places like China, it seems they're rather adept at copying many of their methods. Honestly, it's becoming increasingly clear that this is all heading towards full control over citizens, and not just in Britain. There's no escaping it. It's more than obvious. And speaking of significant figures, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair is reportedly preparing to lead an interim administration for the post-war reconstruction of the Gaza Strip. He's apparently already discussed this idea with none other than Donald Trump. The proposed oversight body will be called the International Transitional Authority for Gaza. Its mandate would be to manage the Gaza Strip for several years before transferring power to the Palestinian Authority. That's a big if, of course, if that transfer ever actually happens. It's worth noting that Tony Blair himself doesn't exactly enjoy a glowing reputation among the British people, to put it mildly. Now, for something completely different yet equally revealing about priorities in modern institutions, an unusual victory has just unfolded within the British Royal Air Force. After prolonged debates, RAF crews have finally won the right to wear vegan uniforms. You heard that right, folks. Service members who identify as ethical vegans will now be issued special boots, belts, and berets, completely free of leather, wool, and other animal-derived materials. And yes, it will all be at the state's expense. This decision is the culmination of a campaign waged by activists within the military itself. They demanded a move away from traditional uniform elements made from animal products. Under the new rules, all you need to do is inform your command of your convictions, and a whole procurement process kicks off. The uniform undergoes safety checks, and then it's approved by a senior officer. Seriously, this is how army uniforms are becoming vegan in our time. This is also something that happens in our current era. Switching gears, let's talk about Germany, where Finance Minister Lars Klingbeil has issued a stark warning to citizens. He's talking about impending changes and the absolute necessity to save and then save some more. The coming years, he declared, will demand a lot from everyone. And everyone, he stressed, absolutely everyone, must contribute. The burden of these reforms cannot be shifted onto a few, he particularly emphasized. What he was doing, in essence, was preparing citizens for some extremely tough times ahead. We're talking new tariffs in the healthcare system, increased pension contributions, cuts to green energy subsidies, reductions in social programs, and stricter rules for unemployment benefits. In short, it was a call for everyone to tighten their belts. And if that wasn't enough, Germany is also seeing new job cuts. Sadly, Lufthansa, the country's largest airline, plans to eliminate several thousand jobs to reduce costs. The reason is simple, and it's been openly stated and published. Costs are soaring, and Lufthansa can no longer utilize its capacity at pre-COVID levels. So, in the coming years, the company intends to cut about 20% of its administrative positions. Currently, the airline employs just over 100,000 people, but the exact number of reductions is still being kept under wraps. CEO Jens Ritter even warned that if costs continue to climb, some flights within Germany might have to be cancelled. Think about that for a moment. Domestic flights in Germany facing cancellation because of rising operational expenses. Where does it end? But the challenges in Germany don't stop there. The country is also being seriously rattled by left-wing radical activists from an organization with a rather telling name, Disrupt the System Immediately. They are openly campaigning against capitalism and large corporations. Just recently, 12 masked radical activists from this group somehow infiltrated Europe's largest coal mine, Hambach, in the northern region of Westphalia. Once inside, they seized a giant company excavator and started directly live-streaming their actions. From that height, they unfurled banners against capitalism, demanding an end to coal mining and the preservation of the forest. They also protested plans to transform the mine into a lake and build a yacht marina nearby. Critics are calling the idea of yachts at a former coal mine absolutely absurd in an era of climate crisis. Police and special forces, even deploying helicopters, were immediately dispatched to the scene. It shows you the lengths some will go to make a point, and the resources governments will expend in response. Now, let's shift our focus to the Netherlands. The government there is planning to open a deportation center in Uganda for those who have been denied asylum. A memorandum to this effect has already been signed in New York by Dutch ministers and Uganda's foreign minister. The idea is straightforward. Those who cannot be immediately sent back home will be temporarily housed in a transit camp in Africa. But as we all know, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary solution, is there? Officially, they emphasize that the camp must comply with international laws. But whether all laws are actually observed in these turbulent times, well, that's a very complex question. Another open question remains. Will this become a genuine tool for migration control, or just another political experiment doomed to fail? We've seen similar attempts before. For instance, in Britain, as you know, a similar plan involving Rwanda immediately fell apart after legal challenges. Speaking of challenges, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on all these developments? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Remember to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Moving on, we have the EU's chief diplomat, Kaja Kallas, who seems to have had a rather significant change of heart over a short period of time. Previously, and I touched on this subject, she positively evaluated the words of the American president and joyfully expressed her agreement. This was when Donald Trump, in a social media post earlier this week, wrote that Ukraine is capable of regaining all its territory within its original borders. He added that this would happen with the support of the European Union and NATO, who could do what they deemed necessary with American weaponry. However, now, after some serious reconsideration, Kaja Kallas has declared that Europe does not bear sole responsibility for assistance. According to Kallas, it was President Trump himself who promised to stop the hostilities. In essence, Kaja Kallas has clearly grasped the core issue and is now trying to shift Europe's responsibility back onto the United States. A convenient pivot, wouldn't you say? Now, a chilling development from Poland. The country has reopened border traffic with Belarus at 2 checkpoints after serious discussions with China. However, due to risks to its citizens, Poland has now urged them to immediately leave Belarusian territory using available commercial and private means. The public tension was significantly heightened by statements warning that in case of a sharp deterioration in the security situation, border closures or other unforeseen circumstances, evacuation could become significantly difficult or even impossible. This is not a drill, folks. These are serious warnings. Additionally, Poland is intensifying its mobilization measures. In the event of war, citizens will be brought back even from abroad, and evading mobilization will become a crime punishable by up to 3 years of imprisonment. So, in the event of war or general mobilization, all Polish citizens without exception, aged 18 to 60, could receive call-up papers, even if they have been living abroad for a long time. This highlights the very real and palpable sense of urgency and potential for widespread conflict in the region. Shifting to the United States, former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted in connection with his testimony before Congress. The former FBI Director faces 2 counts related to false statements he made during his congressional testimony in 2020. So, we'll be closely watching how this case unfolds, as it has significant implications. And right on the heels of that, the U.S. Department of Justice is reportedly preparing a large-scale investigation into the foundations of George Soros and his son, Alex. Back in August, Donald Trump himself stated that George Soros and his son should be charged under the RICO Act. In the United States, this act is traditionally used against organized crime structures. So, the question remains, will the most dangerous oligarch on the planet finally be reined in, or will he manage to wiggle his way out of this situation? Figuratively speaking, the clouds are certainly gathering. And then we have this. The head of the Pentagon unexpectedly convened hundreds of generals for an urgent meeting. Hundreds of U.S. generals and admirals from around the world suddenly received an order to arrive urgently and mandatorily mandatorily for a meeting on September 30th. The topic of this unusual gathering is being kept completely secret, not revealed to anyone. An enormous intrigue has been created, wouldn't you say? We need to pay very close attention to what comes out of that meeting. All right, so we've covered quite a bit today, from the UK's controversial digital ID plans and former PM Tony Blair's new role to the surprising vegan uniforms in the RAF. We've seen Germany brace for austerity and grapple with environmental activism, while the Netherlands explores an African deportation centre. The EU's Kaja Kallas has shifted her stance on Ukraine aid, and Poland is taking drastic measures regarding border security and mobilization. In the US, there are significant legal developments with James Comey and the Soros foundations, alongside a mysterious, urgent Pentagon meeting. The world is moving fast, and these developments, from economic pressures in Germany to geopolitical maneuvers concerning Ukraine and the Middle East, along with shifts in internal policies in the UK and Poland, all paint a picture of ongoing global transformation. The stakes are incredibly high, and it's more crucial than ever to stay informed and question the narratives presented to us. So please, continue to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you believe in the kind of independent, unvarnished truth I bring you, consider becoming a channel sponsor. Your support is what makes all of this possible, and it truly means the world to me. We'll be back tomorrow, because trust me, there's always more to share. All the best to you.